Donald Trump, in the wake of the FBI investigation into him, has now given the country two options. And I mentioned the FBI investigation into him because I think that's what this is really about, distracting with this kind of resurgence of the conversation around Hunter Biden and all of that. He's trying to distract with that from the FBI investigation into him, from his possible wrongdoing. So as I'll say a million times, and as I've outlined in the video I did recently about Hunter Biden, if there is wrongdoing there, absolutely it should be looked into. Absolutely the correct people should be held accountable. I have no problem with that. I don't care that his last name is Biden. I don't care if it possibly would affect Joe Biden. But let's go off the evidence. Let's go off things we can prove and not make wild claims before then. So if there's any situation with the way that the FBI dealt with that story that was wrong, it should be looked into. It should also be considered that the guy who was at the head of the FBI at that time was Trump appointed. So some of the claims that are being made about the possible wrongdoing of the FBI seem far-fetched. And I would definitely caution my audience to be careful about the claims the right wing is making. But if there's any truth to any of it, it should be looked into as it is being. As I discussed in my Hunter Biden video, the mainstream media is covering and has been covering any of the possible wrongdoing of Hunter Biden himself. As of now, his relationship with Joe Biden while he was at the company in Ukraine, nothing criminal seems to be there. I did outline that there was a conflict of interest that I felt to be inappropriate, but nothing that rose to criminality or corruption. But again, look into it. If it's something there, if the FBI did something wrong, okay, that has nothing to do with what Trump is about to say. So Trump said that there should be either a new election or he could just be put back into power. Okay. He wrote on Truth Social saying, so now it comes out conclusively, and that's not true, that the FBI buried the Hunter Biden laptop story before the election, knowing that, if they didn't, Trump would have easily won the 2020 presidential election. This is massive fraud and election interference at a level never seen before in our country. Remedy, declare the rightful winner, or, and this would be the minimal solution, declare the 2020 election irreparably compromised and have a new election immediately. The presidential election was badly and irreparably tainted by the FBI's fake description of the laptop from hell to Facebook and the lamestream media, and for many other reasons as well. Declare the rightful winner or hold a new election now. Our country, which is failing badly, knows the score and will never accept criminal election interference. The FBI just fired its special agent in charge of this outrageous and very illegal assault on the Constitution of the United States of America. So, as I said before, if anything specifically within the FBI needs to be looked into, it can. Many of the claims they're making conclusively, as he said, are not true. Be careful, of course, as always, with the information they put out. But it is funny that his solution to a question, a problem that the kind of country is looking at and dealing with is redo the election, put me back in power, which of course constitutionally is not something that is laid out. There's no mulligan for elections in the Constitution. And that's why we put so much emphasis on the official processes where you should prove this type of stuff in the midst of an election or in the direct aftermath. And it cracks me up whenever all of the attempts they made right during the election don't work. So then they keep coming up with new reasons why the election was wrong, new reasons why the election should be redone, or as Trump said, why he should be just appointed as the president, just make him president or redo the election. Again, constitutionally, there's no precedent for that, as far as in our past and then also directly in the Constitution. So what people imagine, okay, so is the FBI going to say that Trump is president or call for a new election? They don't have the power to do that. Is Biden going to do that? That doesn't make sense. Is Congress going to pass a law saying, or I guess pass a bill, but then Biden would have to sign that saying, all right, we have this new law where if Hunter Biden, blah, 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 then you have to do a new election. I have no clue. But it is scary because one of the things Trump is good at doing is putting in the heads of his followers expectations that he knows aren't going to come true, but then they can later be upset that they didn't come true. So one of the things was the Mike Pence story that he told his audience, which was Mike Pence has the power to keep me as president or has the power to reject election results. And so if he doesn't do that, which of course we know he didn't have the power to do, but then Trump told his audience, if he doesn't do that, you have to be angry at him. And it led to everything that we saw on January 6th and all the rage towards Mike Pence. And so Trump is doing a similar thing here. Followers, you should expect and you should demand that we have a new election, or they just directly put me back into the position of president. Well, that's not something that could actually happen. It's just not. And so he's setting his followers up to be upset about that and to think that there's some wrong being done to our country and that America has been stolen away from the hands of the good, MAGA, America-loving people. And that's why they should be justified in what? Violence? Because we've seen tons of call to violence recently. We've seen tons of at least politicians who are supportive of Trump, for example, Lindsey Graham, alluding to the fact that, hey, riots in the streets, that might be the answer. And so it is a scary moment to be in, and Trump is just throwing more fuel on the fire and doing everything he can to distract from his own problems that he's caught up with this new kind of resurgence of the conversation around Hunter Biden. So then one thing I wanted to attach on the end here was Michael Cohen recently saying, as he said before, that Trump won't run for president. Really, really weird. I would have thought, again, I've heard him say this in the past, I would have thought by now he would have changed his mind on that, but here's what Michael Cohen had to say on a podcast when asked if Trump was going to run.
There's two separate groups, and they're battling each other as well, which is why I have consistently stated that I do not believe Trump is going to run. First of all, he knows that he can't win the general election statistically, and his fragile ego will not allow him to be a two-time loser. All right. I just want to be very clear about that. Second, I believe that if in fact that he runs, he is not just going to get the nomination by the Republican Party, by the RNC. There are going to be plenty of people that are going to challenge him, and rightfully so, which again, he does not want to go up against. Like, for example, Liz Cheney.
So that's really fascinating to me because it seems so obvious now that Trump definitely is planning on running, and that seems like his only way to possibly protect himself from these legal problems that he's in, legal kind of challenges that he's up against. And I think he sees running for president as maybe his last line of defense against those getting to him. So the fact that Michael Cohen is sticking with that, of course, the former lawyer of Trump claims to know him very intimately, and know the way that his mind works, is fascinating. I mean, is all of this talk about the presidency just to keep himself relevant, but the whole time he wasn't planning on it? I don't know. We've seen a lot of reports of people saying behind the scenes he is planning on running. So we'll see. I mean, if he's going to do it, it seems like he's going to announce soon. Maybe right after the midterms, or if we get lucky before the midterms, because I think that'll hurt Republicans in the midterms. But Trump trying to distract, saying he should have a new election or should be appointed president. And we're all waiting to see if, since obviously that won't happen, if he's going to attempt through the official way to become president once again.